Hi, guys. It's me, Tracee Lee Cocco. I think you might remember me on Star Trek TNG as Lieutenant Jae. And you're listening to Trek Untold.
Hello and welcome back to Trek Untold, the Star Trek podcast that goes beyond the stars. I'm your host, Matthew Kaplowitz. Have you ever wondered about all of the characters that appeared in the background of Star Trek shows? It doesn't matter the series, there's always tons of actors running around to ensure that viewers believe these locations are active and realistic. Typically, these are one-off gigs, an easy paycheck for folks looking to get their first credit or maybe their SAG-AFTRA card, and ultimately something to just buff up their resume. For some, being a background character becomes a profession unto itself. Today's guest is an actress who became one of the most recognizable characters to see aboard the Enterprise, who was certainly not a part of the opening credits. That person is Tracee Lee Cocco. If you haven't heard her name before, look her up and you'll find her in a Starfleet uniform as Lieutenant Jae. And once you see her face, I guarantee you're never going to stop spotting her in episodes of The Next Generation. Tracee has appeared in dozens upon dozens of episodes of TNG, as well as 3 of the 4 next-gen movies, reprising the same character who barely uttered a word on screen throughout all of them. She also appeared in a few episodes of Voyager and Deep Space Nine, but that time around not as Lieutenant Jae, but under heavy prosthetics as all manner of crazy-looking aliens. It was during one of those times where she was in full alien prosthetic as an Antican that she ended up meeting Sharon Stone, which is a story we absolutely talked about this week. She's continued to be very active in Star Trek, in fan films, and within the community, and has become a fan favorite at conventions, and after chatting with her for this week's episode, it's easy to understand why. Before we begin this episode, I'd like to remind you to follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at Trek Untold, all one word, no spaces. If you want to check out some of our Trek Untold merchandise, you can also do that on our Teespring store, which you can find on teespring.com/stores/trekuntold, where we've got shirts, hoodies, mugs, stickers, tote bags, and all sorts of other things available to proudly display how much you like this podcast. If you're having trouble finding the link, just check us out again on social media, and you'll see us posting about it from time to time there as well. You can also support our show by visiting patreon.com/trekuntold. If you're already following us or offering us your support, thank you for your help. Most of all, if you can't support us financially, please make sure to subscribe to the podcast and leave us a rating and review on iTunes or wherever you're listening to the show. This helps more people find out about the show and helps spread awareness of Trek Untold. I'd also like to make a quick shout out to our friends at Triple Fiction Productions, who make some great 3D printed Star Trek inspired products for toys and people, but you'll hear more about them a little bit later on. Now, without further ado, let's beam up this week's guest. Computer, access interview file.
Affirmative. Initiating program.
Welcome back to Trek Untold, and now joining me on the other side of the line, we have a familiar face, someone you've seen plenty of times, dozens of times in Star Trek The Next Generation, as well as in several of the next-gen movies. And that person is Tracee Lee Cocco. Tracee, how's it going today?
Hey, great. How are you doing?
Not too bad, not too bad. So yeah, again, I was doing research as I do for all of my shows, and it's really cool looking up you, because as I do more research, I keep seeing your face in all these episodes I'm watching now, and I'm like, my God, I've known this face for years, and I never put a name to it. So it's really awesome to actually talk to you.
Yeah, thank you. I've been on, I've been told I've been on over 100 episodes on The Next Generation. And then I don't know if you knew this, but I was also 15 different aliens on Deep Space Nine and Voyager as well.
Yeah, you've pretty much been everything and everyone. You've served in Starfleet and you've been an alien. So yeah, we got a lot to talk about today. So I think we should just jump right on in.
Yeah, I wore every color. Yeah, I mean, it's crazy. I'm everywhere.
So, Tracee, first question, what is your earliest memory of Star Trek?
My earliest memory? Well, I used to watch, the old one with William Shatner. God, I don't even remember what episode it was. It's been so long. But, watching it on TV. I used to watch all the old shows on TV, too, like Batman and all those fun shows like that, yeah.
So you were born in Allentown, Pennsylvania, and then your family moved to California, correct?
Correct, when I was 2.
So what was your childhood like? What did your parents do, and what did little Tracee think she was going to be when she grew up?
Well, let's see. My mom was a teacher, a kindergarten teacher she's still alive. She was a teacher for like 47 years. My dad did a bunch of stuff. God, he used to be a cop, a motorcycle cop, but then he also went into teaching. He passed away on 9/11, not on 9/11, that 9/11, but on 9/11. So basically, yeah, and me, well, you know, I always had it in me to, you know, make people laugh and act and dance and stuff like that. I always wanted to be in the movies, but you know, in high school, I really wanted to go into like detective work for the police office, and then also like become a veterinarian. And then one thing led to another, and yep, now I didn't do any of that. So, but yeah, I had a, you know, pretty good childhood, you know, being the only child, and then basically my mom, you know, brought me up because my dad, her and my dad divorced when I was like 6, so it was basically just mom and I. So she was basically my mom and dad. So, and she lives in Oregon right now, and she got remarried, and yeah, so this whole, you know, thing going on right now with her health and stuff's been kind of on my mind. So, but other than that, yeah, I love my mom. She's like my best friend. So
That's very cool. So before you got into acting, you were a model. So tell us about how you went into that field.
wow. Let's see. I was working for a company out of Finland, selling motocross apparel. And for all the Midwest, I was like the sales rep for the company Cinesalo. And let's see, one day the photo shoot for their magazine, the model didn't show up, so they kind of threw me in there. And the photographer, Mr. Cardone, who was really well known, kind of took me under his wing and got me all these other modeling jobs, like for Pull and Spa magazine. I basically did like print work, the headshot kind of thing. I wasn't tall enough to be like a ramp model or anything. But yeah, I started out doing modeling, and then one thing led to another. Got videos. I did I don't know if you have this on your archive, but I did a McDonald's video.
Yeah, I was going to ask about that. What you actually do at McDonald's?
Oh my God, it was hysterical. I got the audition, and I had to go like 3 times for it up in LA, and audition for it, and it was like a singing thing. And we walked through McDonald's, and I'm singing. I think I posted it on one of my pages. But yeah, McDonald's was basically was one of my very first jobs when I got out of high school. So I worked at McDonald's, which is kind of funny, you know. And then, you know, I did a lot of other music videos. I did a Madonna video where she was having a contest for the song Through Blue, and we got 2nd place in it. And I think I posted that too on my website. But yeah, I just love doing stuff like that. I mean, I love doing videos. I don't know. I've always wanted to like be in the acting thing. So, and I like doing voice stuff too. You probably are going to ask me that question about my Demolition Man pinball game. I'm the voice in that game if you play it, but I was also in the movie as a cop. Yeah, it's been quite a ride.
I've actually got to ask, but when you did the McDonald's shoot, did they actually have McDonald's food as part of like the craft services on that day?
No. It was all like on the like a fake McDonald's set, and then they had like the McDonald's food, but it was fake, but it looked real. Yeah, so thank God, because I would have eaten it all.
Well, I mean, McDonald's food is already fake as is, so I don't know how much faker it can get, but
I
it's
know,
kind of fun.
right?
So from there, you did all this work in commercials and for photos and on TV, but how did you eventually get into episodic TV acting?
Well, I got a casting agent, and my very, very, very first movie was Gross Anatomy with Matthew Modine, Christine Lottie, and I think Catherine Zuniga. And I play a medical student in that. After that, I believe I landed a role on Baywatch when they first started, and I was a regular lifeguard on there. And then Baywatch got canceled, and right after they got canceled, I got the movie with Eddie Murphy, Another 48 Hours, and that was being filmed on the Paramount lot, where someone from Star Trek happened to be on the set that day and saw me, and I did a stunt. I do stunts too, and saw me on the set of Another 48 Hours and said, "You need to go talk to so and so over at Star Trek. I think they'd really like your look." So I did, and then that's poof. That's when it all started. They loved my look. I passed the audition they had. One thing led to another, and then here I am now. It's crazy. And then I met, Michael Westmore, who's the head of makeup there, and he gave me the opportunity to do 15 different aliens. So I am so grateful. It's been the best thing in my life.
So at that point, when you got Star Trek, were you still modeling as well?
Yes.
So was there a point where you basically had to kind of make a decision, like, I'm going to go in one direction, I can't do both these things? Did that happen to you, or did it just kind of naturally turn into one thing more than the other?
It kind of naturally just turned into one thing, than the other. I mean, I could still do both now, but I mean, yeah, that's it. Just things happen, and then one thing led to another. I mean, like I mentioned earlier, I was in the movie Demolition Man. I played a cop, and Paramount had me do. I dressed up as a Borg for a convention for them to promote their pinball game, the Borg pinball game. And I get a tap on my shoulder, and it's the head designer from Williams Bally Midway who makes all of the, pinball games around the world.
Yep.
And he said, "I really like your voice. I'm coming out with a pinball game for Demolition Man. Would you like to be the computer voice in it?" And I was like, "What?" I go, "Yeah." I was in the movie and I played a cop, and they go, "Oh my God." So they flew me out to Chicago, and they got the outfit that I originally wore, my cop outfit from the movie, to wear in the demo, and that's on YouTube, the Demolition Man pinball game promo or something. Anyway, yeah, and at the time I did it, I didn't have like a manager or anything, so they asked, like, how much, do I want, and I said a number, and then they paid me the money that I wanted, but if I would have known at the time, I could have got half the money, and they would have given me a game to have as my own. I didn't know that at the time. So now I'm kind of like, I wish I would have, known that, because I'd have a pinball game now with my voice in it. So, you learn stuff like that. You learn stuff. So as you go. So, it's been great, and then, I've been doing the Comic-Con circuit. So, and that's just, I love doing those. I love all my fans. I love meeting new people. Obviously right now they're all on hold, but I'm pretty sure they'll be coming back. So
I think you're the first person I've talked to that's been on Baywatch. So what do you remember actually about working on that show?
Oh wow, it was cold.
Yeah.
We'd have to get there so early in the morning, right? And then wear our little outfits, and then it just depended on the script that day if we had to jump in the water or not. And yep, usually I did, so it was pretty cold. And they also had me, I surf, so they had me surfing. And I don't know if you know this, but, the more things you do on a movie set, they pay you for. Like, if you work in smoke, you get a smoke bump, because I'm in Screen Actors Guild. So, and if they don't feed you on time, they have to pay you for that. It's just crazy stuff. But yeah, working on Baywatch is great, going to the beach every day. It's pretty cool.
And you get to hang around David Hasselhoff when he's not wearing a shirt. I mean, do you remember anything about working with the Hoff?
Oh yeah, he was great. He loved me to death. And at the time, his stand-in was named David Hass, and he looked, I swear, just like David Hasselhoff. So he would do all of David's swimming and all that. And I was like, "Do you not swim?" And he's like, "Well, I don't really like to." So he probably knows how now, but back in the day, it was just his stunt double that did all of that. And I was on pre-Pam, Anderson. And then, that reminds me, I even did a movie with her called Barbed Wire. And we had a fight scene in that movie, but that ended up on the, cutting room floor, which was a bummer.
Yeah, it's kind of funny how you're on Baywatch right before Pam gets there, and then you go to Barbed Wire with Pam. So she's kind of been around your career a bunch of times in some indirect ways.
Oh, yeah, it's been crazy, man. I tell you, it's been crazy. I never knew that, my mom, back when I said, I'm going to try this acting thing, give me about a year, see if it works. Well, it kind of worked. And then it's just weird. The Star Trek thing has been just, I can't even tell you how much I appreciate, Star Trek fans are just, they're just so cool. I mean, I have a lot of friends on Facebook, but most of them are my Star Trek fans, and they've been there for me when I'm down. They're just awesome, and they also know way more about me than I do, which is kind of crazy, you know. So I just really appreciate all their, you know, support, or else I wouldn't be talking to you right now. So.
I do want to ask you one more question before we jump into Trek, because I got plenty of things to ask you about Trek, but I do want to know, what is it like doing a fight scene with Pamela Anderson?
Well, it was kind of interesting.
Because I imagine she's not the most, she had eventually the TV show VIP, which I think was after Barbed Wire, or maybe around the same time. So, I think she was doing more combat stuff, but I don't really know how skilled she was at the point of Barbed Wire.
We had like a, I don't know if the right word is pole. We had a big pole, each of us, like a wooden stick pole thing. And that was basically our we were like training fighting. And it was fun doing that, but then, you know, they cut it out, which kind of sucked. You know, and then I was on General Hospital for a day player as Marla, the rock and roll hairdresser, and I had a speaking part. All I had to say was, as soon as I get off the phone, and sure enough, the day they aired it, yep, you heard me, but you didn't see me. It was like, God, you know, all because of one of the actresses, you know, thought I looked pretty good and got jealous. That happens a lot in Hollywood.
But at least you got the payday.
Yeah, I know. It's just, you know, why can't we all love each other?
Right, yeah. All right, so Tracee, let's go ahead and jump on into Star Trek and the Next Generation, because there is so much to discuss. As you said, you're on at least 100 episodes, easily more. So I'd like to ask you, kind of run us through your first day acting on the show. Like, what was it like getting the outfit, looking at the bridge, being part of the set? What do you remember from that first day?
I was in awe. I literally went to the wardrobe. Oh, and when I got on Star Trek, I didn't realize this, but being in the color black and gold is the best color to be, because they control two things on the ship, which I did not know at the time. I started out as an ensign, and I started out with a pip, I think. Yeah, with a pip.
Yep.
And then I walked on the set, and it was like, wow. It was like really being on a ship. I'm not even kidding. I mean, you know, they put a lot of money in each episode, and the sets were insane. Back in the day, they didn't have, like, they had a guy, like, standing behind the turbo lift to open the door. The green light would go on, and he'd have to pull a string or something. So, you know, up until, like, you know, now with Discovery and Picard, it's all more high tech and stuff like that. It was quite eye-opening. And then when I met, you know, everybody, and then they put me right next to LeVar on the bridge from the very beginning. And then eventually they would have me, and I had another outfit, the 10 forward outfit that I would wear, the turquoise outfit. And they always would put me as Patrick Stewart's mate when we'd go to 10 forward. And then they'd always, I was on an away team with Marina and came back. I mean, I was like going, wow, something's going on here.
So as you mentioned, you started out as ensign, and then you eventually became lieutenant. Do you remember how or why you got promoted on the show?
Well, all I remember is one day my outfit had the one tip, and the next day I went into wardrobe, or whenever the next day I went in, you know, to work, and put on my outfit, I had two pips. And if I remember correctly, I think I got the name by mistake, but it stuck, so that they you know, that's when I went, oh, okay.
I heard that Jonathan Frakes was the one who called you Jay for some reason. Yeah,
he did, by accident. I think he was supposed to say Lieutenant JG, but he said Lieutenant J, and then it just kind of went. So therefore, that's when I said, wow, okay. So, and I spelled it J-A-E instead of J-A-Y. And and it's crazy. I have like a really cool cult following, and it just makes my heart happy.
Yeah, the cult of Jay.
So, yeah, the cult of Jay.
Yeah, it seems like everybody had a really fun time on that show, and I've watched a lot of the bloopers, and the one that I want to ask you about is this really infamous one now where it's actually you and Jonathan Frakes in a corridor, and you're basically walking past him. Then all of a sudden, he just turns around and yells Tracee, and then chases after you. Like, what was the story behind that?
Oh my God! The first time I saw that blooper, I just busted out laughing. I was just doing my thing, They said action, and I just had to walk down the corridor, and then Jonathan was the one who did that. And then as soon as I heard my name, I turned, and then I'm like, oh, I'm out of here. So yeah, it's gotten like that blooper shows everywhere. It's crazy.
I just want to know what happened when he caught you.
He didn't.
You outran Daddy Longlegs of Star Trek. Well, wow, that's an achievement right there.
Yeah. Hey, I may be little, but I know how to run fast.
So yeah, tell me about working with all the cast members, because you got to be around. Again, we'll talk a little bit more about Patrick Stewart and your time with him, but I just want to hear about your other interactions with like LeVar, Brent, Jonathan, Marina. Because you're around them constantly. So, what was it like being with them when you're shooting and when you're off camera?
Shooting, we all were very professional. We'd have our little, things where maybe someone would mess up and we'd laugh. But, yeah, they're all very professional. But they are all very funny, too. So, if I remember correctly, when I first started on The Next Gen, I don't think Marina really liked me that much. Now we get along great. She's fabulous. I love her to death. We talk at cons. She's just awesome. But there was I think the new girl thing going on there. And Gates has always been, nice to me. They're all very nice to me every time I see them. LeVar and I would, during takes would talk about maybe he'd ask me, hey, do you cook? And we'd talk about cooking or what I was going to be making maybe for dinner that night or what he was making. Michael Dorn and I had a blast. Patrick is just hysterical. Jonathan is too. Brent is very, very, very business, but he's so funny when he's not business. I to this day, I just don't know how he remembered all that stuff he had to say. To this day, you could probably go up to him and say, an episode number, blah, 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 and he could rattle off exactly what he said. That's how, and he's the one who really, really helped me out when I had to learn all the language, that I had to say for the pinball game. I had so much to learn, and I couldn't have a teleprompter when we did the video. So he told me the way he learned, some of his hard things, he'd put on his headphone and listen to his, cassette tape. Well, that's how long ago. Yeah, he told me to do that when I slept at night, to put it on and with my dialogue in it, and it really helped me out. And I to this day, I thank him every time I see him. So, and we see each other, we run into each other at the cons, and they could have long lines, and as soon as they see me walking up, they'll drop everything and yell my name, and then I come up and we all hug, and it's just like a family, and I'm very, very, very honored to be part of a legendary show as of Star Trek. So, yeah, I just can't even tell you. Who knew this would even happen, in my life? So it's crazy.
So I want to get into the nitty-gritty of what it is that you would do on the show when we're basically seeing you, because essentially you're part of the ensemble cast. You're a background character. You're there to make the ship oftentimes look bigger and be a part of it and show that it's a moving, living crew. When you're doing this kind of role, for example, we'll see you, let's say, in 10 Forward talking to someone, or you might be on the bridge pressing some buttons. What kind of direction do they give you? What are you told to do when you're in a scene like that?
Basically, they never really had to tell me a lot. Basically, if I had to touch buttons, they'd kind of show me, kind of how to move or what to, how to move my hands. And I don't know. I just got it. And then we'd have the ship shake, and we'd have to shake right, shake left or whatever. And, being in the back, with LeVar, the ship, and then compared to when I flew the ship, if you get hit in the front, the people in the front, have to go a certain way rather than us standing in the aft, we'd go another way. So, you had to learn how to do all that. And then, falling down, stuff like that, that's considered a stunt on the show. In one of my favorite episodes was Rascals. And that one is awesome because I played three characters. on that episode. I played me, and then I was a Ferengi. I don't know if you saw my Ferengi, but I was a Ferengi that day. And then I also was Patrick Stewart's hands as the little boy when he was punching the computer. Those were my hands.
Yeah, I was actually curious about that. Like, why did they need an adult's hand for a little child pressing buttons?
Yeah, well, they called me in and they said, Tracee, we want your hands. And I'm like, what do you want? What? And they were like, because, I didn't have like long, girly hands. I have tomboy hands. I don't know. Anyway, they were, I said, okay, whatever. So I was like the person they would call like, oh, let's get Tracee to do it. She'll do it. And even in the God, what movie? Not the first movie, Generations, the one with the Borg. What was that? What was that
Contact?
One called again? Where I was the Queen Borg stunt double in that, Alice Krige stunt double, and then when she grabs his legs going up the ladder, those are my arms. So I had to go in for her and double her arms, which was weird. But that's what I mean. Like little weird things would snowball, and then they'd ask me to do this thing, and then I did like video games for the Klingon video game one, and I've been like in a lot of things. It's just crazy, and all my aliens. Oh my God, I've done so many. It's crazy.
So how did you discover that you could also do the stunt stuff as well?
Well, I did it on Baywatch and stuff. So, I mean, and then I did it in another 48 Hours with Eddie Murphy. I have a limit when I do stunts, and especially now because I have like a lot of rods and stuff in my body. It's not from doing stunts and stuff like that. It's just because I had a bad spine. But I have limits on, I don't jump off of, building or anything, so I'm not that crazy.
You mentioned a lot about the aliens you got to play. So I'm curious, and you said the first alien that you did was the Antican, correct?
Yes.
And I'd heard that you actually met Sharon Stone while you were in that makeup.
Oh my God. Yeah, see, that's what I'm talking about, like weird stuff. Yeah. I was in my full-on Antican, wear, and the Antican has a prosthetic that went in my mouth, so when I get down on it, my snout would move, okay? So I went outside to the alleyway at Paramount lot to get air when we had a break, and at the same time we were filming that episode on the lot filming her movie with Sharon Stone, okay? Filming, Sliver. Remember that movie, Sliver?
Yep. So
okay.
that's about 93 then, I think.
So here I am in the shade, getting, trying to breathe and get air and trying to sip my water through a straw. Here comes Sharon Stone out of her trailer in her terry cloth robe, just trying to maybe do the same thing and get some air, sees me and beelines right over to me, and I'm going, I'm underneath my makeup going, oh my God, Sharon Stone is coming, oh my God, right into she was literally right in front of me checking, and she could not even believe the makeup. She was in awe of it. And then she happened to look at the security guy next to me, and she said, what does she look like? What do you look like under there? And then it happened to be that day I gave the security guy a headshot because he wanted one. So he holds it up. He sees my photo and says, oh my God, you're so pretty. Why would you cover your face up like that? And I said, well, for one, I don't mind it. And for two, they pay me well. And, my skin kind of works with it because some actors, they would break out, with all the prosthetics on. So I was kind of lucky that way. That's, I think, why I got to do a lot of the aliens. But so therefore, then she says, wow. She goes, well, we're having our wrap party tonight, and how would you like to come as a guest? And I was like, I think I choked on my water through my straw. And I said, oh, okay, sure. And yeah. So I got to go to her wrap party for the movie Sliver. And then to top it all off, she says, oh, and you can have my extra guys to, watch over you when you walk in and stuff. And I'm like, oh my God. So yeah, that was, and I love her. So it was just like craziness. I mean, who knew that would even happen? You know?
Yeah, that is legit craziness right there.
It's total crazy.
Trek Untold will return momentarily. Trek Untold is brought to you by Triple Fiction Productions. If you're a Star Trek cosplayer looking for props, or toy collector looking to spice up your shelves, Triple Fiction Productions has you covered. Triple Fiction Productions produces affordable and unique 3D printed Trek-inspired products from the original series, Next Generation, Deep Space Nine, Voyager, Enterprise, and the movies. You can expect the same amount of care and attention to detail in any of the items in their catalog, whether it's a prop replica for use in a fan film, or a part of a cosplay, or accessories and playsets for figures from Playmates, Migos, or Diamond Select. Own your very own tricorder or phaser rifle with working lights, the bridge of the Enterprise E for your Playmates figures, or any other item from countless species and ships from the Star Trek universe. All products are 3D printed in the USA and are constantly evolving and improving based on fan feedback. To learn more about their products, visit them at triple-fictionproductions.net or on Facebook at facebook.com/triplefictionproductions. Triple Fiction Productions, taking Star Trek where no 3D printer has gone before.
What's going on, everybody? It's your girl's favorite artist, Josie's Boy.
And I'm Alexis A. McCoy.
And we are the hosts of Call Me When It's Over.
We are more than just a podcast. We are a culture cast.
Yes, and you can check us out every single Saturday with a brand new episode. We're available on iTunes, iHeartRadio, Spotify, and Google Play.
And you can catch us on our homepage at rigsworksnetwork.com. And don't forget to follow us on Instagram at _Call Me When It's Over.
That's right. And as always, speak up, speak out.
And leave your ego at the door.
We now return to Trek Untold.
So, as you mentioned, you were about more than a dozen different alien species on Star Trek, and I'd like to hear a little bit more about the process for you to actually get in all this makeup and those prosthetics. You know, since you were so many different aliens, did they need to constantly retake a face mold of you? Were your heads custom at all, or were they just kind of here's a mask, put it on? Tell us a little bit about the behind-the-scenes parts of being aliens.
A couple of mine, were my mold. For me. There was one that I did. I believe it was on Voyager. I do not know the name of it, but Michael Westworth said, I want to, make you a different alien. And I said, can you make me a pretty one? Because basically, all the ones I've done, they're not real attractive. So he made this one that was on Voyager. I had a call time at 3 a.m. It took 6 hours or so to put it on. It was insanely beautiful when he was done. And then they put contacts in my eyes, and I had a forked tongue, that he molded to my tongue with the prosthetic. And I still have that at the house right now, the tongue. I got to keep that. Yay.
Yeah, you got a custom prosthetic. That is unique.
Yeah, that took 6 hours to do, and it was just, that day was great because as soon as I was done at 9 a.m., because I had to come in at 3 a.m., it took till 9 a.m. or so, the first scene of the day was for me. So I basically got out of the makeup chair, went and did my scene, which didn't take long, and poof, I was done and home by noon. It was great. And then, I've been Ferengi, and I have my teeth. You can't really, I couldn't talk with my teeth. Mine weren't specifically molded Aaron's and all them were. So, where they could talk. But yeah, and then there was one alien, I believe it was called a Cobarian. And, I knew every time that I would get called to be the Cobarian that I would have a sore throat because, the nose didn't work. So I'd have to breathe through my mouth. So every time I, would get called to be the Cobarian, I was like, oh, I'm going to have a sore throat that day. But so, you learn stuff. I did both boards. I did the regular board with all the headgear. And then I was the drone board where I was the experimental board in one episode where I was sitting on the cave floor shaking and I had my eye out. And the boards are great. I love doing the boards. It's just crazy. I've done so many, I can't even think. I could probably have a calendar of aliens, I swear to God.
Oh yeah, easily, yeah. The Tracee Alien of the Month Club.
Alien of the Month.
There you go, yeah. So I've heard from a lot of folks who had to wear the prosthetics and the makeup that oftentimes, as you just mentioned, you'd get a sore throat from one of them because you couldn't breathe as easily. I imagine other costumes you wouldn't be able to see as easily out of them. So what's it like being underneath all of that makeup, and how do you survive the day like that?
Oh my God, some of them were so hot where they, we had to have a little fan. They'd go and get us little personal fans battery operated little fans that we'd have, and then some outfits you could probably take off like half and then walk around without it. But yeah, it got really hot, you know, in there. I was on Renegades, and I was in an alien. I think that was one of the most difficult aliens I ever had.
Yeah, I just saw Star Trek Renegades recently, and I saw some of the makeup. Those are actually pretty intensive aliens in that show.
Oh, intense, yeah. But the one I had on was like a full-on heat helmet, and oh my God! Every time I would take it off, when I could take it off, it was literally like it made that, you know, noise, and steam would come out of me. I probably lost like 5 pounds every day I filmed on it, but that I think was the most difficult one. You know, the Borgs, they have a full-on metal, I call it like a mesh metal. It looks like a shark suit, but it's not like a shark suit, but it looks like a shark bodysuit you wear. You put on that first, and then each piece is a piece. Like the forearm is a piece, the bicep is a piece, the legs are, you know, pieces. So it's like almost seven pieces maybe that you put on. And then they don't realize, you know, oh, the actor may have to go to the restroom or something. And then you had the Pax makeup, the white makeup on my face and hands, so you can't smile, you can't do anything because it cracks, and then they have to reapply it. But I basically had a lot of wardrobe and makeup people follow me, like when I did have to, you know, go to the little girls' room, or even eat, you know. And there was one attack tack. I did an alien that's attack tack, and they literally had to cut my piece that covered my lips because I couldn't eat. So they had to cut it like with a razor blade so I could lift it up to eat. You know, they're cool looking and all, but sometimes they don't realize, oh shoot, the person has to eat or, you know, have water. Nowadays, I'm sure they do it a lot differently. But yeah, I just love all the makeup. I would love to be an alien again on something, you know.
Well, let's make it happen.
Yeah.
Hopefully Discovery or Strange New Worlds.
Oh, yes, Strange New Worlds. I was hoping Picard, because who knows, you know, I could be an admiral by now, you know, or something.
Yeah, you mentioned earlier that, you know, and we've seen you, of course, earlier, be in a lot of scenes with Patrick Stewart, including when you were basically his date a few times. So talk to us about working that closely with Patrick Stewart and what you remember best about him.
Oh, gosh, he's just a gentleman. You know, every time I would come on the set, he'd say, Tracee Lee Cocco. He's just adorable. And then, you know, they started putting me in the 10 forward as his date. But then I looked on other episodes, and I was also in one episode, I don't know the names of them, but I was also Worf's date in one of them and Jonathan Frakes in one of them. But I was usually Patrick, sitting next to Patrick. And that one episode where we're in there listening to Brent Spiner, I think he was reading poetry, and
Yep.
the three of us clapped. They told us this is what we had to do. We had to look bored, and I think we did a pretty good job of it because we had this. We thought he was done, so we stand up to clap, and then it's like, oh shoot, he's not done. So then we look at each other and we're like, oh shoot, so we sat back down. But Patrick was telling me that he was starting to get like mail asking about him and I. So and, you know, and then the show got canceled. I still think to this day, if it wasn't canceled and we were still doing it, I really think something would have come of me, like more of a story. I really do. I feel it. Because, I mean, look where I started when I got on the show, and then when it ended, how much stuff I did. I mean, I loved doing it, and they always would call me because I was very professional. I never was late. I did my job, and I did it great, and then poof, we were done, and then, oh, well, we're going to have this. Let's get, you know, Tracee to do it. And they'd always ask me first. They wouldn't just throw me in there and say, you know, you're doing this. They'd say, how do you think, you know, how do you feel about doing this? I mean, I even did, a magazine came out and did a photo shoot with Jonathan and I was in my Antican wear, and he's kissing me. It was like, stuff is just, it was craziness. Stuff like that just happened. It was nuts. I mean, and then they flew me to Miami in my Ferengi outfit, and I was on the Miami on the street, you know, in my Ferengi character, and, you know, acting like a Ferengi on the street of Miami. I mean, who could say they did this stuff? It's crazy.
Yeah, and obviously they liked what you were doing because, again, they brought you back dozens of times. And I'm kind of curious, you know, was there like a little club for actors like yourself who were part of the ensemble that were just always there? Like, well, I'd like to ask also, who else was with you that would be repeat cast members like that?
We did have our little clique going on. Michael Robinson, I think was his name, and Joyce. Oh God, what was her last name? And Cameron. Cameron was Gates' stand-in. Cameron Oppenheimer or something. Yeah, we all hung out. We because I knew I was always a regular on the bridge, cast member on the bridge. So every time I get the call sheet and it would say which days we were filming on the bridge, I knew it was going to be 3 days. It was always 3 days. So I knew I was working 3 days every week. I just didn't know which 3 days because, when you start out on a Monday, it's usually the call time's early, and then, if the filming and everything goes on track, then the next day's probably around the same. But if not, they go over, and then it throws the next day. You know how that works, and it throws it all over. So, but yeah, we had our own little clique. We hung out. I never really, I don't live in LA, so when I did film up there, I would drive from here where I live in Orange County. But I never, hit any of the traffic, obviously, because of all my different call times. And then by the time I was done, there wasn't any traffic, and so it worked out that way for me. Yeah, I don't think I could have lived in LA.
So you were on TNG, you were on Voyager, you were on Deep Space Nine. And from people I've talked to in the past who've also been on those shows, they've all kind of said that each set had its own kind of feeling. Like maybe TNG was a little bit more fun, DS9 was more serious. What do you remember about the differences between all of those sets?
Well, the sets were DS9 set was great too. That set was pretty awesome. Voyager, I don't really remember it that much because I don't know how many episodes I was on, either on Deep Space Nine and on Voyager, because I was alien. So the time I spent there, I really didn't meet that many of the cast because I was in my alien, wear, and I'd go in for my shot and then I'm done and then I'd leave. So I didn't really meet, any of them like I did my cast. So, and yes, the next gen is way fun, but they're also very professional and very serious when need be, but they are so fun. Yeah, to this day, they're so fun. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, and there's plenty of bloopers also to prove it. I mean, I heard there are so many outtakes from all the shows, especially as I got closer to the end of the series. Clearly, it's having so much fun. And I wanted to ask you if you remember being part of any really amazing outtakes that didn't get used, where everybody just completely broke character and you all just had a good time on set.
Oh God, there was one. I don't think they had it, but Michael Doran picked me up and spun me around like a little, I don't even know, like a rag doll. And that was fun. I don't know what episode that was, but it was near the end of the take, and he says, Tracee Lee Cocco. He chased me too. And then he picked me up and spun me around, and I was like, oh my gosh. But yeah, Patrick Stewart and Jonathan would be so funny, when they'd do the end of the take, and then Patrick Stewart would look at Jonathan and say, come to my ready room right now, number one. And then everybody would go, oh, But yeah, they're just fun. The one time they thought they were all going to be funny, and I was supposed to either come out or go in the turbo lift, and they decided not to open the door on cue, so I ran right into the door. They all laughed at that.
Ouch.
Yeah. Yeah, ouch. I was like, thanks a lot, guys. So, yeah. We always would have fun, and then, all the directors of all of the the TNG episodes, they were all great, but my favorite director had to be Jonathan, because he's two take Frank, and I'm not kidding. He is. When he likes it, done, moving on. We like that because it made our day way better because we get to go home sooner. So, yeah, he's a great director.
Yeah, a lot of the actors on TNG directed a lot of the episodes towards the end of the run. And again, you being around them for so long, I mean, in terms of the evolution of these actors going into directors, who would you say had it the easiest time and who had the hardest time taking up those reins?
Oh, God. Shoot, that's a hard one, man.
That's what I'm here for.
Well, the hardest time, I don't know, because they all seem like it just came natural, at least to me. I mean, basically that's a lot of weight on their shoulders, to direct. So if they screw up, it's on them. And I really, at least the ones I saw direct, it looked to me like they knew exactly what the heck they were doing. I mean, all of them have been in this business forever, so they've seen the back side of the directing and the front side of the camera and the back. And, I think Jonathan does excellent, as you could tell. I love Jonathan. I think they all do quite well. I don't think that, did the ladies do any?
I have to look that one up too. That's a good question. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think they did.
Yeah, I don't recall them doing any. I think they'd be great at it if they tried. I really do. I mean, it's difficult. I don't think I'd want to do it because they'd probably turn out like a Woody Allen movie and everybody would go, my brain like stays focused for like so long and then oopsie, I'm over here. I don't think they'd dig it. But yeah, I think they all did quite well. I really don't think any of them had a difficult time. At least they didn't make it known, Now,
did you ever get any acting advice from any of these cast members that you worked with?
Basically, just be yourself, like I said, they never really had to tell me or scold me. I just listened. I listened. I was very focused when they told me exactly like the scene, what was happening, blah, blah, blah. And I'm a very observant person anyway. So like, okay, example, when I did the Antican, Michael Westmore used to have he'd always give that alien to guys to do. And that's when he gave it to me to do, to see how a woman's, perception on it would be. And I guess I did it well because, like I said, he gave me 15 different aliens to do. But I'm very observant. I mean, I knew like how to move like an animal, because I watched, Animal Planet and all that, and I'm very observant on mannerisms and stuff like that. But yeah, they basically just be like when I did the stunt in Generations when I got blown out of my chair, but I didn't die. I can't remember who the director was. Darn it, on that movie. Darn it. The director said, as soon as I say action, do not look to your right because the stuff right here next to you is going to blow out, and he didn't want it, smacking me in my face and making me blind or whatever. So anyway, I remember that was my very major stunt. Like working with explosives was crazy to me, but I was so excited. I was like a little kid, when they said this stuff's gonna blow up and blah blah blah, and you're gonna get blown out of your chair. And I remember saying before I even got the stunt, I had it in the contract. I asked, I'm not going to die, right? Because I knew they were going to have more movies, and I was supposed to die, but they wrote it in the contract that I didn't die. And if you see the movie, they carry me off, and then that's when Marina comes and sits on the, and takes charge of the seat. So I remember doing that, and it was like being a little kid. And then Marina told me I was watching her panel, one con we did together, and she brings this up every now and then in her panel, that shot. And I never knew this, why we had to do 2 takes. And she said, because when the ambers, when it blows up and the ambers follow me down, the ambers landed on the seat. And so when she came to sit on the seat, the ambers burned her butt. So, yeah. So we had to do a second take. I never knew that until she told me that.
And we should add that because Lieutenant Jae got knocked unconscious, Deanna then had to take over the controls, and ultimately we can kind of indirectly blame her for the crashing of the saucer section of the Enterprise.
Oh, yeah, I do. And she laughed at it. Yeah, she goes, well, you never told me how to fly it.
So something I noticed in the Star Trek Next Generation movies is that Lieutenant Jae's uniform changed. You started in the engineering colors, and then you went to command, and then the last time we saw you, you were in the science uniform. Was there an explanation for that in character, or was it just what they kind of had in stock that you had to wear that day?
Basically, they put me in those. So I'm grateful because I can say, yeah, I wore every color. I don't know. It just happened that way. Like I said, I even went on an away team with Marina. I believe I was in my gold and black though. And I came back and didn't die. But then I didn't die when I was wearing the red and black in the movie and got blown out of my chair. And then in the other movie, I wore the turquoise or whatever color you call it, green or, yeah. It just worked out.
So you were in, like you said, many episodes. But I'm kind of curious, was there ever a day on set that was just like one of the worst days you ever had on set?
You know, you're going to laugh, but no. No, I can't even say anything bad about it. I can't at all.
Wow.
I loved going there. I enjoyed it when I would go. I couldn't wait like for my call sheet to, you know, let me know what I was going to be doing. Because they were all just so cool. It was like family, you know? I mean, God, I was there for like, 7 years, 3 times a week, every week. They were like family, you know? And I miss them all. And I'm just grateful that I could say I'm part of a legacy, which is true. And, that's my dog. Sorry, she's acting like Cujo over here. Anyway, probably when at the end of when our last, you know, scene we filmed for the show, that was the saddest day, you know?
Yeah, what do you remember about that day?
Everybody was crying. Everybody was crying and hugging each other, and it was just sad, you know, just sad. But then look what happened. Then we got the 4 movies, and I was in the first 3. And then now all these new Star Trek shows are out. I mean, my God, it's like it's never going to end. It's never ending. I love it.
So what do you think happened to Lieutenant Jae after Nemesis? What did she go on to do?
I think she went on to explore, to tell you the truth. I really do. She probably has her own ship and just, you know, be bopping around. Maybe one of these days, hopefully, I'll run into them all again, which would be great on some weird thing that they're doing, and then they happen to bump into me. Hey, you know, I don't know. I think it would work. I do. I mean, I took a break. I was somewhere else. I thought maybe I'm going to go cruising around in the galaxy.
So Tracee, besides Star Trek, there's a lot of other things we can talk about, but there's one thing I do have to ask about, and that's when you were cast in a music video in 1997 for Snoop Dogg. You were in his video Vapors, and according to the IMDb credit, you're listed as a gangster babe. And I just watched the video. I'm pretty sure you're in the background in the scenes of the meeting table. So I just want to know, what was it like working on a Snoop Dogg music video?
Oh my God, that is too funny because I was on that, but that was just a small part. They had me in a Snoop. It might have been the same Snoop Dogg video we filmed. What dam was it? It was on at a dam or out in the Empire or something. And Sherman Oaks, I don't remember. But anyway, it was filmed in a dam, and they had me as a SWAT officer with a double-barrel shotgun, and I had to point it at Snoop singing on stage. And that was a little freaky because here I come pulling up, you know, to do my thing, you know, work that day. And here comes me, little white girl, you know, getting out of the car. And, you know, it was like a smog bank. All I smelled was pot. And I was like, oh, my God. I was like, this is going to be fun. So, yeah, isn't that funny? I forgot I even did the part in the bar. Oh, my God, that's hysterical. Yeah, I've done a lot of crazy, weird stuff. I was even in Bulletproof, the movie. And I was in a bar in there. How weird.
And so, of course, you are a working actor still. You're doing a lot of things. So can you tell our fans what we can look forward to seeing you in the next year or so?
Yes, I just got done. Well, not just got done filming, but like a year ago. It's called Night Mistress. It's a horror movie, and I play one of the head bodyguards to the mafia, and that's from Dream Cinema Productions. And then I just got done filming Assassin's Apprentice 2. With Armin Shimmerman and Marina's in it. Oh my God, Gary. No, I don't think Gary's in it. Oh God, who else is? Oh, I think he is in it, Gary. Yeah, and that should be coming out too. And I play a retired assassin in that. So those are 2 things that are coming out. The first one, Night Mistress. They're coming out with a video game on PS4, Sony, you know, the game station or PlayStation, whatever you call it.
Yep.
So they're coming out with a video game for the movie too, so I'll be in that. I am in talks to be on Star Trek Online. They're going to write Lieutenant Jae a story.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So I'm sure that's going to be a while because of all the stuff on hold. But I'm with PR Celebrity. Johnny Steverson's my guy, and I've been doing conventions, and like I said, I love doing them. This year, obviously 3 canceled because of the coronavirus, but I have one coming up. If they already canceled it. It was supposed to be for next month in Florida, and they postponed it to August, near the end of August. So I'm hoping to go to that. Oh, I can't remember the name of it right now. Darn it. I'll put it on my website. And then I'm going to Canada for one, Space Con or something like that in Canada in November. I love doing them. So I basically do like a lot, like almost last year I did like maybe one every month. So they keep me pretty busy. So.
Yeah, I look forward to when everything gets back to normal and you can start doing cons again.
Me too. I miss people. I miss hugging people.
So I also did a little more research about you outside of acting as well, and I read that you're really into the paranormal. You're a believer of ghosts and UFOs, and you also said you had a UFO sighting once. Can you tell us a little about your thoughts on the paranormal?
Well, I believe ever since my mom, I live in Orange County at my mom's house. She's in Oregon, living with her new husband in Oregon. So I basically live here, pay rent, take care of the house while she's gone. And ever since she bought the house way back, God, when did she? Like in the 70s, I'm going to say. I don't know. It was like a long time ago. I remember when we first stayed in this house, I think we have a ghost. And it's a nice ghost because obviously he hasn't thrown me down the cellar yet. But we call him Fred. And he likes to mess with me every now and then. Like, when you're like sitting on your bed or something and then you could feel somebody else sitting on your bed, but there's nobody there. That's happened. When we first moved in, also, the back shower, we have like three bathrooms here. And the back shower that nobody really used, every time we'd walk by it, the water would be dripping like somebody took a shower there. And it was like creepy. Lights, flicker every now and then. I used to see like this lady on the deck early in the morning, like wearing, the long white dresses they used to wear back in the day with their hair in a bun, and they used to button up all the way to the neck.
Yeah.
And all the way down.
Victorian era.
Yes, she looked like that. And then I never saw her again, just the one time. And then one time I went out to the backyard. We have a pool, and it was I was having insomnia, I couldn't sleep. And this was like also a long time ago. And I go out to the backyard, just to, get some air and, listen to the quiet. And I just happened to look up, and I am not even kidding. It was the biggest, quietest thing I've ever seen, shaped kind of like like a big triangle thing. And it had lights on the bottom blinking. And then all of a sudden it went away, and with no sound, nothing, gone. And then these little ball orbs like followed it. It was like the weirdest thing. I was like, what did I just see? Oh my God. Yep. That was my big experience. Yeah.
Yeah. I think you're working in the wrong franchise, Tracee. We got to get you on Doctor Who and Ghostbusters next.
I know, right? Yeah. And I don't mind them. I mean, I'm totally into the alien thing. I mean, what's the movie with Mel Gibson? Signs.
Oh,
yeah.
Signs. Yeah.
That movie. Yeah. Oh my God. That scared me to death. Yeah. But it was like scary, creepy, but good, if that makes any sense. But yeah, I believe in them. I do. And I have a lot of friends that have experienced. I even have a friend, Renee, who said that she was abducted a long time ago too, and has a total experience to say. She's going to tell me about it. And I was like, oh my God, really? And she's like, yeah.
Well, at the very least, you're more than qualified to handle any of them if they do decide to come on Earth.
I know, right?
So you got your first contact protocols. You know what to do in this situation.
I do. I'm the most cross-trained officer on the show.
So, Tracee, what is the best thing about being a part of the Star Trek universe?
Oh my God. Love. It's like all about love, and everybody gets along, and there's no hate, and it's just awesome. Gene Roddenberry's vision is just amazing, and I don't know, if people could just you know, we all love each other. You know, everybody has their differences and stuff, but, you know, when the chips are down, it seems like everybody comes together. I think we're going to get through what's going on right now. It's hard, I know, for everybody. Everybody wants to be back to work and everything, and I get that. Just got to be safe, you know, safe and smart.
Yes,
you know?
definitely.
Yeah, but hey, if you know, anybody wants to get, you know, find me, I'm on Twitter at real Tracee TRACEE COCCO, and I'm also on Instagram TRACEE_COCCO, and then my professional website on Facebook is TraceeLeeCocco.com. And yeah, let's make this happen on the Picard thing or the new one. Yeah, that would be awesome, wouldn't it?
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me on.
Yeah, no problem. Appreciate it. Thank you so much for being on the show today, Tracee. We had a real great time, talked about all sorts of things, and I'm happy I got to finally ask about Snoop Dogg, because that was what was most important to me today.
Right on.
Snoop Dogg.
Thanks for bringing that up. I totally forgot about that. All right, honey. Well, stay safe, and thanks again. Thanks for having me. Bye.
So that was our chat with Tracee Lee Cocco. She was a real blast to speak with for this episode, and she's got a lot of fun stories. Doing this Trek Untold podcast has given me more of an appreciation for the unsung heroes of TV and film, and there truly is no one whose praises are sung less than the background extra. You might be saying, well, what's the big deal about these background characters? Well, really, as silly as it may seem, imagine a scene in a movie without them. How bland and boring would it be to see a scene on a New York City street with no one behind the main characters? Likewise, for Star Trek, imagine going anywhere, whether it's some alien promenade or a location on board the starship. In order to make these places look like they're bustling, hustling places of activity, you gotta have people in them. And that's where folks like Tracee come into play. It might seem trivial, and it's definitely something that's not appreciated by the average viewer, but it's worth noting just how important these ensemble players really are to anything in TV and film. Thank you for listening to this week's episode of Trek Untold. If you haven't already, please subscribe to this show, and if you can, leave a review and rating. We would appreciate it very much if you did. You can also follow us on social media. Just look for Trek Untold on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. We'd love to hear from you there, and of course, we'd like to hear your thoughts about this week's episode. If you'd like to support this podcast, you can check out patreon.com/TrekUntold to learn how you can keep our ship operating at full power. And you can also check out some of our merchandise at teespring.com/stores/TrekUntold. Once again, thank you to our sponsor, Triple Fiction Productions. If you'd like to book Tracee to appear at a convention or autograph signing, visit prcelebrity.com or contact her on any of the social media channels that she mentioned during this interview. This has been Trek Untold. I'm Matthew Kaplowitz, and until next time, fortune favors the bold.